Hello chess friends and welcome to your Zarov Chess channel and welcome to a truly remarkable gameplay by the most powerful chess engine in the world by Stockfish 17. Today we see the fish playing it out with the black pieces against the Nimzo-Larsen attack, and believe it or not, the Stockfish will deviate from the standard ideas in the Nimzo-Larsen attack already in the move 1. So Stockfish will play the first move h6, which is really very crazy, but then afterwards we'll see really spectacular middle game. Here by Stockfish will play really interesting and I would say a remarkable bad bishop strategy where Stockfish will rely simply on its opponent bad piece in the middle game stage. So I would say really spectacular game again by Stockfish 17. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces. The Arasan engine, which was of Stockfish's opponent, first of all played the move b3, the Nimzo-Larsen attack, and Stockfish, believe it or not, plays in the first move h6, which is already a theoretical novelty. I'm not sure if this was a prearranged opening by the organizer, but now after move d3 we have now the move d5, which becomes now finally a normal move by Black in the Nimzo-Larsen attack. Knight to f3 with the idea, of course, to play the standard setup of the Nimzo-Larsen attack. You're trying to play knight to d2, e5 here, bishop to b2. You can also play the double fianchetto, I think, is perfectly fine in the Nimzo-Larsen attack, and Stockfish simply continues with the expansion on the queen side. We have now the breakthrough. Stockfish covers now the center, and now after move g3 we have now this, and the idea the double fianchetto here by white. Don't be surprised if you face maybe this opening by white, because white has, I think, a decent activity also in the center of the board. Black has also the slightly passive setup, I would say. Also, in the beginning, as we mentioned, h6, I'm not sure about this move, but probably maybe this could be a pinning idea if you play, for instance, knight to f6 too early. So maybe Stockfish has already found here for us a beautiful novelty in the opening stage. Knight to f6, knight from b2 d2, again a developing move here, also developing move by Arasan, and Stockfish also after kingside castling simply plays now queen to c7, which is now an idea to finally get a further grip around the square e5. Then you want to play d4, and Stockfish is slowly but surely trying to build a powerful center on the board. We have now queen to e2, preparing now the move e5, and Stockfish simply castles. If you play now here e5 immediately, then it could be very risky. It's hard now to defend after rook to e1, which could be playable here for white. Then Black would simply proceed with b5 and would have an expansion. I would say maybe a slightly better position here for Black already, because I think the progressive plan on the queen side is much faster to perform than maybe some kind of a king side attack here by white. So e5 in the beginning of the game here is, I would say, not such a positional threat by white. We have now bishop to b2. Now Arasan prepares for the move e5, and Stockfish locks out now here the center of the board with the move d4. If e5 happens, now you could also have this idea here to maybe play knight to d5. Then there is a weakness on c3 in the continuation of the game. White's dark worship would be always stuck to the defense of a simple weakness here in white's position. So that's why after move d4 here comes a4, which is, I think, a good positional move by Arasan, which is not allowing this expansion on the queen side. And now Arasan wants now to finally fix the position in the center of the board by playing the move knight to c4, and then maybe, if the position allows it, then to launch this central idea with the move e5. That's why Stockfish plays immediately e5, fixes now the center, knight to c4. Obviously b5 is not possible anymore because of this nice positional move. Bishop to g4, h3, we have bishop to e6, and now bishop to c1. I would say again a nice reposition of the dark square bishop, because on this side of the board this bishop is blocked. So that's why Arasan is searching maybe even for, I don't know, knight to h2, then maybe f4, g4, f5 ideas, playing in sort of a reverse king's Indian way, trying to launch now finally kingside flank attack. King to h7, h4. We have now rook to g8. Interesting defensive move here by Stockfish. Stockfish sensed that there could be some problems here on this side of the board, and now Arasan shows what actually could have been really spectacular tactic. Knight to g5. this move is really scary because Stockfish obviously took now after h takes g5, but now the issue is you cannot move the knight. For instance, you try knight to d7, then you get checkmated here on h5. So that's why Stockfish found an interesting defensive plan with rook to h8, and from this point on, look how beautiful this game is. It seems so here that white has an attack on the king side, but now Stockfish plays sort of a counter attack. Stockfish says, you think that you are attacking the king side. Actually, I'm the one that I'm attacking the king side by playing the move rook to h8, and now Stockfish is searching for an attack here on this side of the board, although white has maybe some kind of an expansion now, but Stockfish calculated everything in a good way. G takes f6, okay, Stockfish gives up now also the piece. Now the material is again equal, but now f4. And now king to g8. Stockfish sensed that there could be a possibility of f5, so that's why Stockfish is trying to finally get the king here towards the queen side. The h file is already occupied, so now it becomes really beautiful, sharp tactical game. We have now the move f5. Stockfish gives up now the bishop for knight just in order to create this bad bishop strategy. The bad bishop strategy is when you manage to put all of your opponent's pawns on the same colored complex. Now you see like this, many of these pawns are on light course, so now this bishop on g2 becomes simply a bad piece. And when we finally reach this kind of a position, the main positional goal here for black is somehow to trade off this bishop for this bishop and go maybe into a favorable knight versus bishop endgame. So a bad bishop strategy, I think, is very important to recognize, especially in this blocked pawn structure. I think we can agree this is a blocked pawn structure. So now Stockfish is searching somehow to trade off this bishop. So as I said, simply continue with a better minor piece. Queen to e7. Now comes this idea. Arasan prevents it, of course, not allowing here to move bishop to g5 to happen. King to f8. Stockfish is marching with the king towards the queen side because obviously the positional threat could be g4, g5, and then white could be much better on this side of the board. Bishop to f3 is not allowing any rook to h5 moves. Stockfish would probably love to play rook to h5 and then bishop to g5, going with the same plan as we mentioned, trading off the dark square bishops. King to e8. We have now rook to b1 and now king to d8. This pawn is so far protected. I'm telling you this because Stockfish will play here really a spectacular tactic after g4. Now you see g5 is a huge threat. Stockfish plays now bishop to h4, queen to g2. Again, Arasan is trying to get this g5 goal, and now bishop to g5. Now Stockfish goes for the same plan, but the issue is now after bishop to g5 and queen to g5 that the pawn on b7 is hanging, but Stockfish doesn't care. Stockfish relies simply on this bad bishop strategy that we have talked about. Stockfish is saying, although I'm down a pawn, but this knight will eventually somehow get into the game. Your bishop is stuck, is simply blocked by its own pawn structure. Really interesting position that Stockfish has reached now. King to c8, an extra tempo against the rook. You could maybe double up here on the b file, but then rook to b8 forces now a further trades of rooks, and now after knight to a6, this pawn is protected. We will get the king closer eventually, and then knight to b4 could happen. Queen to e3. This rook is already very dangerous, so again, I would say much better position here for black. After king to c8, we have now rook to b5, and Stockfish gives up even another pawn just in order to finally activate now the pieces on the h file. And that's what I loved about this plan by Stockfish in the beginning, this whole king to h7, rook to g8, and then when the knight came on g5, when the pieces were traded off, Stockfish occupies now here the open file, and Stockfish has actually now a dangerous attack against white king. Rook to h4. We have queen to g3, f6, fixing everything. Again, I'm pointing out the bishop on f3 simply a bad piece. Queen to e1. Here Arasan is trying to get the queen into the game. Stockfish doubles up anyway because a potential queen to a5 is not something that should bother black, because this knight is so powerful. You can maybe step back to d7 and maybe you can even sacrifice the piece, but it's simply not working because after rook to g4 and queen to g4, the position is collapsing. Actually, white is getting checkmated by this beautiful queen and rook activity. Instead of rook to c6, you could maybe try rook to d5 here to deliver check, but then black will simply step back to e8, and no good check is possible. This knight is so powerful, it's a beautiful defensive piece, it's protecting now the dx square, and again the position will simply collapse here. After rook to g4, queen to g4, you saw the tactic, it will happen again. So that's why after rook from a to h8, Arasan didn't deliver this seemingly I would say dangerous check. Arasan tried to defend the king, but now Stockfish continues now with the triple battery here on the h file. Really nasty position. King to f1. Arasan is trying to also escape with the king. Rook to h3 attacks now the bishop, bishop to g2, and now a beautiful queen to g5, which is actually not allowing here white to pick up the rook, because after rook to h3 the king gets simply cornered. Even if you try, I don't know, to escape, then you get rook to e3. If you try to cover, maybe then you get this one. First of all the check, you may be trying to cover, and then here the rook is coming again. You lose this item material in one of this lines. You can get even checkmated here by the beautiful queen and rook activity. So you see, after rook to h3 and queen to g5, you still cannot pick up the piece on h3, so it's simply not working. Arasan is trying to trade off queens, of course, is desperately trying somehow to simplify the game, but now rook to h1, another stunner here by the fish. If you take now again with a similar tactic, you will get the king maybe out of this mess, but now eventually, look at this, after a couple more moves the position is simply collapsing. This rook will be taken, and again it's simply game over. The queen will be also taken, and nothing can happen anymore here for white. So here after rook to h1, that's why king to e2, queen to g4 check. We have now bishop to f3, and after rook to queen to g1, in this particular position Arasan resigns. So what's the issue? Let's see again. If you try maybe, I don't know, bishop to h1, then again this battle will happen, and even if you finally try somehow to get the rook into the game, then queen to g4 check, rook to f3, and then again with the same maneuver, again it's game over. Here instead of rook to b5, maybe you're trying to escape with the king, but then again this rook is coming, again a dangerous check. You can maybe give up here the queen for rook, and okay, maybe you can prolong the game with two rooks against the queen and the knight, but then we simply attack this one, and once the knight is coming here in the center of the board, when the queen is coming again, it's simply game over here for white. So spectacular attack here by Stockfish against the Nimzo-Larsen attack. Really interesting choice to start to walk with the king towards the queen side, allowing here even white to pick up the pawn on b7, just in order to trade off the bishops and applying this bad bishop strategy, where white was left with the simply bad bishop stuck by its own pawn structure. Really interesting game, interesting positional game, I would say, here by Stockfish 17. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Really spectacular game by the fish. If you want to see some other beautiful positional but also tactical games, check out our Come to Chess Games Play by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.